Hello and welcome to the Wealth Legacy Blueprint Podcast with your hosts, Richard and Andrew Hanson. I'm your producer, RJ Malik. Andrew and Richard, you have some special guests with you today. Why don't you just introduce them?
Well, we certainly do, and it's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to work with really quality people who do a lot of great things in our community. We're blessed to call Kent and Brandy our friends, and I think most importantly, they give back to the community. They do a lot of great things, and so our goal and our purpose today is really for folks to get a chance to meet these great people and some of the things they've done in their life and things that they're doing currently, and really the journey that they both have been on to get to Lake Las Vegas, Nevada, and again, we've had the great privilege of meeting them for 2 years. So, without any further ado, we have Kent and Brandy Barcoras here today, and they're going to talk a little bit about that journey that brought them here to Lake Las Vegas, and more importantly, allowed us to be part of their circle of friends. So, welcome, guys. It's great to see you as always. And, tell us a little bit about who you two are and what life is like for y'all.
Well, sure. Well, I'll start. We were both kind of raised in the South and I moved to California about 40 plus years ago and kind of had a whole belief I was going to be kind of out there being a lawyer, doing all kinds of things. And then life shifts. It particularly shifted back in 2009 when I'd sold my printing business and thought I'd retired. And sure enough, I decided to get into a couple other businesses, more purposeful businesses. And, it just went from there. Shortly thereafter, I meet my beautiful wife, Brandy, and our life began. And it's been an amazing, I'll call it 10 to 15 years of all kinds of challenges and experiences.
So my background, as Kent said, we're both from the South, and I was in Dallas for 20 years. My background is in nonprofit. I was with the Alzheimer's Association Dallas chapter for many years. And once I made my way to California, began in real estate. I was a real estate broker for many years, and then made my way into insurance. And so we met and kind of joined forces and combined our family. And I started working with my husband.
What part of the South were you from, Kent?
Oklahoma, and then went to college in Texas, and she's from Texas. So we all have the same, both of us have the same. We were raised similarly, right? We love family, we love God, we love loyalty, we love friendships, we treasure kind of all those really important things. Especially as you get older in life, you see where that got you, and you've experienced a lot of the other side. So you try to avoid kind of, I'll call it the evil side of life, and stay away from those folks that, are not meant to be in your life.
Yeah, and more importantly, giving back. That's extremely important to us. We've always done that, and currently, as Rich and Bev know, we are involved in the Sold Out Youth Foundation, and that's with fentanyl awareness in the community.
Yeah, so we kind of interject ourselves occasionally into specific, I guess, charitable organizations to bring in, I'll call it like some testosterone, into that environment, get in, activate, and then get out. That's not part of our other businesses, but we find ourselves, time, talent, treasure, to me, are three of the most important things that you have. And utilizing any component of that or a collection of those elements, if you can effectuate change, then do it. And don't stay around too long. Get in and get out. Do what you're meant to be, why you're supposed to be there, and then withdraw yourself. And I think it's important. We don't take credit for anything that we do. We don't like running around being boastful. Again, we grew up in the South. We think that's unnecessary. You see a lot of that out here in Las Vegas, but no, I think, as we go through our journey, we find ourselves being really joyfully effective in making outcomes better for a lot of different people.
Yeah, and I think that really comes off the page, especially, you guys are genuine people. And I think that comes across naturally. And that's why, honestly, I think Rich just wanted to do this podcast, just an excuse to spend more time with you guys, to interject him more into your friendship. So, well, first, I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time. I think a lot of people are going to pick up on this and learn a lot. And you guys have the right mindset. You get in there, you start, like you said, you put testosterone in there and you back up and you kind of watch it do its own thing. But before we get onto that, how was that transition after you sold the printing business in 2009? Where were you financially and emotionally and mentally? And how did you get to where you are today? What were those ladders to get there?
So financially, I was set, right? Retired, made enough money, very successful company. And I took a year off, and then I started just, kind of twiddling my thumbs. I'm an alpha personality, clearly. And I started looking at areas that I could get into. And my best clients in the printing industry were healthcare clients. And I printed for most of the top insurers, Humana, Pacific Care, WellPoint, United, you name it. And they were the ones that always paid. And when recessions came, business got even better. And so I kind of dove into kind of that arena with making some investments into some healthcare companies, one of which we'll talk about later on. Ended up developing a treatment for our daughter that has a very rare disease. And it just goes to show, what are the odds of you doing something in retirement and not fully retiring, but keeping active and in investing, again, treasure, not a lot of time or talent. And then 2 or 3 years later, your daughter's diagnosed with a very rare disease, and the company that you had invested in has a future treatment for that very same disease. So it just goes to show, I think, if you do things correctly in patience, we've learned that over the last 15 years. I was a knee-jerk guy for a long time, and I took a lot of risk in different areas. Most of the time it worked out, some of the time not so much. But I think patience, deliberations, not too much. Don't think about it too much, right? Let the guys like Rich and Drew figure out what our money's going to do for us long term. But in terms of living life, be patient, be deliberate, but don't be too fearful. And I think that's what we found.
Yeah. Well, I will say the passion you guys exhibit, not only through a friendship standpoint, but the things that you are involved in. We've had the great privilege of being with you guys with the fentanyl awareness and the time, talent, and treasures that you guys put forward to that to help our youth on something that is killing kids at a phenomenal rate. And so that shows where your passion is. You've got two things that I know we've talked about in length that shows that passion. And one is the issues with your daughter, which I'd like you to get some detail. And then also kind of your history with I Heart Vegas. So you can take either one first or second, but we'd certainly like to hear about those passions and how it's affected both of you and has affected in a positive manner the community.
So I'd like to address the I Love Las Vegas thing first, because the retinitis pigmentosa conversation could be a little emotional, and I want to make sure that I contain myself because it's been a crazy journey. So we got involved in I Love Las Vegas in 2017, and the story goes back really about 25 years earlier. I was managing Lennox Lewis, 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, and a friend of mine, Ray Garza, was managing Oscar De La Hoya, who became 4-time champion of the world. Everyone knows both of those stories, or most people know those stories. Well, I don't see Ray until 25 years later when I'm in a conference room in Irvine, California, interjecting myself in another opportunity, which was to reconfigure airports with smart booths throughout the airports to make the business traveler more effective. And there across the table is Ray Garza. So we started talking, and he basically said, Ken, it's been a long time. I wanted to really, talk to you about something. And Ray was the Hispanic Walt Disney. He was the one that converted all of the parks in all the United States to make them bilingual in the 80s and 90s. Very creative man, married to a wonderful woman, Alexandria, who is an amazing singer, headliner on the Strip. And so I had invited them to come out to a soccer game at the Coliseum, Champions League soccer game. And so we went out on the field, and Ray basically tears were in his eyes. I'm like, you all right? He goes, no, I can't believe it. Ken, I don't know if you know this. I brought the World Cup to the United States in the 90s. And I said, you're kidding me. And all of a sudden, all the players, Ronaldo and others, came up to Ray. They'd known Ray. And I was just like, wow, this is great. It gives me goosebumps right now talking about it. And so the game ended. They went back home. They drove back to Vegas. And I was on a text chain. And basically, it's like, oh, please pray for Ray. Pray for Ray. And I'm like, well, what's this all about? And I called up Alexandria, and she said Ray had suffered a massive stroke that morning after they got back and was on life support. And Brandy and I are just like, what do we do? What do we do? So basically she said, I'll handle everything here. And so I flew out to Vegas every week for almost over a year.
Yeah.
And spent a day with Ray in different states, ICU, all the way through somewhat recovery, and to give Alexandria a break because she was their full-time nurse. Mm-hmm. She had stopped her job on the Strip. Everything was really imploding on them. And she really didn't have anywhere to go. God just said, you keep going there. You keep going there. And so about a year and a half later, Ray could finally speak. And we're in a rehab center, which he would never get out of, right? Ray's still alive to this day, thank God. And basically Ray said, tell him. And she told us about, I Heart LV, which is the iconic mark that is all over the city, and about the history behind it. And they wanted to bring more love to the city, connect all of the communities together, Hispanic, Asian, Black, white, because underneath the belly of Las Vegas, there's a lot of friction that people don't know about. They see what's going on the Strip, but they don't understand the community. And they wanted to bring love and awareness to this community. So over 15 years, they had developed a portfolio of trademarks that was just astonishing. And they had him in use all over the Strip. And she said they're having a massive problem with counterfeiting because they have not been around to enforce, kind of their rights, their trademark infringement rights. And so I traveled, Brady came out, we traveled all the way from Fremont Strip up and down the street, up and down the Strip, and counterfeit goods were everywhere. I'm talking about millions and millions of counterfeit goods. As you can imagine. And it was just like, wow. And she asked us if we would kindly restructure the business and come over and take over the company so that their mission in life, all the work that they had put into this for the last 15 years just didn't get blown out. And we looked at each other and said, well, this is a no-brainer.
It's a huge undertaking, but we spent, I would say, a year issuing cease and desist, cleaning up all the counterfeit products. And then once we accomplished that, we started to think about how we could develop different product lines.
And work with I'll call it the champions of Vegas, right? Whether it's casino operators, whether it's the airlines, whether it's the venues, convention center. And that would have been 1819. And we started getting some real traction. We'd signed a contract with Mars for their M&M stores. And that was a rollout in March of 2020. And guess what happened? COVID. So COVID comes along and we're just like, wow, okay. We go down the Strip and everything's boarded up and there was not a person on the Strip. It was almost like the Twilight Zone. I'm like, Well, if this town comes back from after what we're seeing right now, it needs a lot of love, because this was, the devil was all over that. But anyhow, we kind of persevered through COVID with I Love LV, and then Mars had an amazing end of the half of 2020, and then 21 was great, and we decided, well, we need to go. Las Vegas is a town that has a history of strong arm people running this town, and we had to figure how to get on the right side of the strong arms, because they're still present. And so we've aligned ourselves with a couple gentlemen that are staples in this town, that have been around for 40, 50 years, that know everyone. And now within the last 3 or 4 or 5 months, we are partnering with airlines, partnering with all the venues, partnering with all the distribution, convention center, resorts, and bringing a line of 20 different product types, including beer, wine, souvenirs, apparel, potato chips, popcorn, hard candies, soft candies with M&Ms, and just spreading the love literally and physically throughout the strip, so that consumer will get the experience that they got in New York 50 years ago. Because New York, I Heart New York, was brought in place 50 years ago to eliminate the gang violence that was happening in that town. And it was a very effective symbol of that town. And the community wrapped their arms around it. And so that's what we're trying to replicate here. That's Ray's mission. And as we call ourselves custodians of the brand, of Ray and Alex's creation, right? We don't take credit for it, but we will protect it, and we will make sure that we succeed in what his mission was, just so that the fruit of all that labor can provide for their retirement, and kind of their needs, as he's still bedridden right now. They live in San Antonio, and it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, every time we speak to Ray, which is every week, he is so joyful about what we're doing, because he sees that, the spirit came within us to do what they had intended to do, right? And now we're the arms, right? They were the arms, and now we're the arms doing their work. So,
well, I got to tell you, and I introduced you earlier about passion and giving up, and you term time, talent, and treasures, and I have seen you two at work, and your motivation is for Ray, someone that you had known, and someone who has some serious medical issues, and I have heard this discussion before, and I know your heart, both of you, and that's your motivation. And there's certainly no dollar amounts that will satisfy anything more than what you're doing for Ray. And so, from my perspective as a friend, I am proud to call you guys friends just because of that. So that's fantastic.
I think as consumers, you see it all across the industry. Consumers really gravitate towards a good cause, or something that's real and that's genuine. So I think, just you speaking to you guys alone, I think anybody listening can just see that passion and that ultimate concern just jump off the page. I want to ask Brandy something real quick. So Brandy, with your background in your nonprofit, did you feel that there were certain sort of mentalities that you had with the background with the nonprofit, and then trying to be a little bit more aggressive in that business and go, okay, we need to crack down on these counterfeits, on these cease and desist? Did you feel there was a certain tug emotionally against each other?
Well, for one thing, taking advantage of someone like Ray and Alex is just heartbreaking. When that's your passion, and you just, people are blatantly stealing from you, it's wrong, and something needs to be done about it. And you can't give up. You just have to push forward and try to get what you need to get done, and follow your mission.
When I saw her passion, and she told me when she was Alzheimer's Association in Dallas that she collected a lot of money, and she asked for a lot of money, and sometimes darn near demanded that the donors give. And with
That's
the fentanyl kind of program for the Super Bowl, or fentanyl prevention, I looked at her and I'm like, my goodness gracious, she is going after that nugget. And so she had employed her brother, who's a former MMA champion of the world, Muay Thai, and his 4 or 5 UFC friends. And they literally went down the strip and they strong-armed against these counterfeiters. And made him take it off the shelf. And if they volunteered, they would hand over the product to them. We took a truckload or almost 2 truckloads of products down to Mexico and dropped it off at a village because we knew that they needed the towels and the cups and all the other things, but we didn't want that being distributed here near Las Vegas. But that was her job. She was a monster as it regards to using that aggression.
I second.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, most importantly, she's got the most difficult job on the planet, taking care of my good friend Kent. So, I don't think she has any regrets, but number one,
bringing this product out right now, which is our wine, and
nice.
And the good news is that we know that Rich doesn't drink wine, so he can't consume all of it. But you can see just how gorgeous, if you look up close, the carefulness that our designers. There's all the different cards, the clubs, hearts, spades, in a silhouette in the background. These are potato chips we do for Wynn Hotel. And the packaging is gorgeous. And we do that because that speaks to who Ray Garza is. And he's about quality, and making sure that this mark is shown on everything and done so in a beautiful way.
Kent and Brandy, people can learn more at ilovelvbrand.com, correct?
Yes, correct.
And then is the wine available now? Will it be coming soon? When can I and Rich expect to get more of this wine so we can stock up?
So we would expect by the fall to have all of our product lines in market. So our craft beer is called Silver State Beer. It's amazing. It's an amazing beer made here in Henderson by a local brewery called Craft House Brewery. And all of our spritzers and all of our non-alcoholic drinks and all of I'll call it our snacks and beverage line. We hope you'll see it on an Allegiant Airlines plane toward the end of the year. We're pretty confident that that's going to happen, but we don't, fingers crossed. And
maybe the stadium.
That's going to be up to Allegiant, and we'll leave it up to them. There's, with all those, again, the deals the stadium has is with a company that manages all food and beverage, and they've got all kinds of fences with people coming into their territory. So we'll let them try to figure that out.
You will see our products in Resorts World very soon.
Yeah.
So I'll go visit all those places.
Yeah.
The Craft House, Resorts World, and I'll do some research for you guys. I want to thank Kent and Brandy Barcoras for joining us today. So we're going to wrap up this first part. You can visit them at ilovelasvegasbrand.com. Check them out. Stay in tune with them. We're going to be seeing a lot from them coming in the fall, and we're going to make another excuse to hang out with them. So stay tuned. They're definitely going to be on again. Part 2 is coming up. We're going to be talking about their wonderful work that they do with Allegro and sort of the journey that they had with their daughter to get to where they are now. You really going to want to stick around for that. So you can join us at www.generationswealthmgt.com. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in the next part.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Wealth Legacy Blueprint. Don't be a stranger. Hit that follow button to stay connected. Got questions? Need some personal finance tips? We're just a click away at www.generationswealthmgt.com or give us a ring at 1-833-948-2466. Remember, it's about more than money. It's about your journey to financial freedom. Stick with us for more real talk and real strategies to make your financial dreams come true. Opinions expressed here are our own and our guests, not necessarily those of Generations Wealth Management Group. This podcast is all about education and not direct financial advice. For the nitty-gritty on your own financial situation, always chat with a professional.